Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another episode of Termite's Buzz, a weekly video game podcast where I, your host Termite, talks about things that I'm playing this week, trophies I'm going after, some video game industry news this week, as well as ending the show with a little retro discussion from something in my extensive retro gaming collection. I am, again, your host, Termite, and you can find out who I am and what I do over at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website where links to all of our social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, and Discord, among others like TikTok. And you can find links to all of our podcast RSS feed links. Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts are all included. So go check me out. Go see what I've been doing and what I've been up to. My comings and goings. I hope to find you all well. I come to you well rested after a long weekend without our children. Thanks to my parents, my folks, and T-Bone. Sorry, T-Bone. Your life was disrupted, but the kids were gone for the last 3 nights. And that allowed my wife and I to get caught up on some things around the house, some chores and projects that we wanted to get done. So we hung some things, reorganized a whole bunch of stuff, got rid of things, consigned and donated, and trashed a bunch of stuff, and basically had a ridiculously productive weekend, as well as a couple of date nights, some mornings to sleep in. If you ever have a situation where you can wake up in the morning and you don't have anything or person needing anything from you, count yourself blessed and happy, because that is not my life. Every single morning, I am woken up by little humans that need everything for themselves, and it is exhausting when you have to do that 365 days a year. So thanks to my parents to give us a break from that everyday churn of life for the last couple of nights and mornings, and I was able to get up and do my absolute favorite thing, which is coffee and video games, and it is the best way to start every single day. I wish I could do it all the time, but I can't. Maybe that's why it's so special. It's because it's not the norm, and if it ever was the norm, maybe it wouldn't be so special, and it could actually be like invasive to other parts of my life, like work and such. So maybe I should count myself happy. Who knows? I don't know where y'all are at with that, but I am refreshed, I think. I feel good. I'm enjoying the fact that I had that experience. And tomorrow is you're going to get this podcast a mere 3 hours after I'm recording it, because it will go live, as all of my podcasts do, Monday at midnight, and it is 9 p.m. on Sunday. Because of the crazy amount of stuff we had to get done this weekend, I could not get away to record. So here I am, down to the wire, mere hours away from publishing. So I hope to find you all well this week. April is over. It is now May. So I hope you have some Cuatro de Cinco celebrations or Cinco de Mayo celebrations ahead of you. And yes, those are 2 very different holidays. And if you know, you know. What have I been up to? What have I been playing? I just said I played coffee and video games. So what's going on? Well, Friday, a couple days ago, Star Wars Jedi Survivor came out. But before I talk about that, I also fired up and played Horizon Forbidden West's DLC, Burning Shores. And that is a pretty quick, if you just mainline the story and don't do any of the side quests or exploration, it's probably like 5 to 8 hours worth of content. And that's what I did. I did some of the side quests, but I didn't do any actual free exploration yet. And it came off of Hogwarts, right? So I was playing Hogwarts, and I was really bummed out, really bored, really sick to death of what Hogwarts was offering. Fired up Horizon Forbidden West, first-party Sony studio, Guerrilla Games. They brought it. I mean, this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. You have had to have beaten the game in order to even play it, so you have to have finished Forbidden West, and you have to have a PlayStation 5. That's it. Only those 2 conditions have to be met to play this, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It performs flawlessly. I do have a 4K TV, of course, so it's just amazing. And coming off of Hogwarts, which it's not buggy. Hogwarts is not a problem game. But there was just something different about the quality and the polish, the facial animations, the voice acting, like about Horizon Forbidden West that was just so good. So it was really, really cool. But because it was such a small story, I don't really want to share too much of my thoughts on the story because it would almost always all be spoilery. Just know it takes place after Forbidden West, and it kind of bridges the gap between that and what is going to be the 3rd game. So if you finish the end of Forbidden West, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's kind of this little like side quest that Aloy goes on, meeting an entirely new different tribe that was talked about or referenced in the main game, but you don't really interact with them until this DLC. So that was cool, and you explore LA, like around Hollywood and such. Of course, this is way in the future, and it's post-apocalyptic, so the world is destroyed. So the Hollywood sign is there, but it's covered by a giant, massive robot-looking tentacle, kind of a Zelda Breath of the Wild, Guardian-looking tentacle thing. And you get to interact with it, which is pretty cool. So, fantastic. I highly recommend it. If you've played Forbidden West and you have a PlayStation 5 and you're looking for more content there, absolutely worth the $20. I haven't finished all of the extra trophies yet, but they're very attainable. It's nothing crazy. And no, there's not another platinum, but there is some more trophies to get. So I was working on those, having a good old grand time, enjoying myself once again on my PlayStation 5. And then Friday happened. And what was Friday? Friday was the release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I was extremely excited about. I had pre-ordered, and I finished Jedi Fallen Order, and I actually have a live stream of me. I didn't mean to finish the game live on stream, but back when we were doing 80-Bit Pod Smash many years ago, 80-Bit Pod Smash, we've been doing, this is week 16 of Termite's Buzz, so 4 months ago we were doing 80-Bit Pod Smash. But years ago, 2019, when Fallen Order had come out, we were doing some regular live streaming on Twitch, and that video is posted on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, you have to search Penguin and Termite. That's our channel, and you can find the link to watch me accidentally finish Fallen Order. So I saw the entire ending there. But anyway, I digress. The game was amazing. It was awesome. Metroidvania progression style with the Dark Souls combat. It was awesome. But I played on super easy difficulty, so I can only just look and appreciate the Dark Souls combat without actually experiencing it, which drives certain fans of From Software games up the wall, because it feels like I'm a phony, because I can appreciate Dark Souls combat without the difficulty, because difficulty I think is superfluous and unnecessary, but I digress. Jedi Fallen Order is continued by a book called Jedi Battle Scars. I read that. It's not a great book, but it's worth reading because it does have a little extra post-Fallen Order content there for you with the characters, and it does move the plot forward a little bit, kind of like a half step, because there's a 5-year gap in the plot between Fallen Order and Survivor. So you pick up Survivor, and there's obviously a lot more stuff has happened since the book, but there are things that happen in the book that are visually represented in the game, such as a scar on Cal Kestis and a robot arm on Grease, which you can see both of those in the trailers for Jedi Survivor, so I don't really classify that as a spoiler because you can go see that now without ruining anything. So the book has the details of how those things happened, and then you pick up right where they left off in the story. And so far, everything about the first game that I loved has been improved upon in the sequel. The map is a little bit more easier to navigate. You can fast travel between the different meditation spots. I have not gone back to backtrack because it does have the Metroidvania progression style. I am waiting until I finish the story to go back through, following PowerPix's trophy guide, recommending just go through the main story. You can explore and collect things as you will, as you want, but don't spend a lot of time combing through everything, because you're just going to find a lot of walls that you can't get past because you don't have the right abilities, because you need to backtrack. That's how the game works. So got it. Cool. I'm having a blast. I absolutely love it so far. Unfortunately, it is plagued by an awful performance situation on PlayStation 5. The performance mode is a joke. It doesn't even try to hit 60. It's like, you can go check out Digital Foundry's video on it. It's like in the 40s all the time. It chokes. What's cool, though, is there's no game-breaking bugs or glitches. So I'm not clipping. I'm not falling through the world. Like, facial animations and voice acting is great. The music and the score is top-notch, phenomenal, AAA game. So, everything about the game, the bones of the game are great. It's just the frame rate and, the screen tearing and all the things like that. So, even the animation quality is amazing. So, this is a true current-gen game. There's no cross-gen stuff here. So, I'm a little bummed that we didn't get the flawless 60 frames per second when God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West with the Burning Shores DLC, that's a PS5 exclusive, are both doing just fine, and those games look gorgeous. So when you have games to compare it to that are similar, third person kind of open world exploration, open zone kind of games, you see you can compare them almost as close to apples as you can get. And so when you see other studios, first party studios, killing it, and then you look at Respawn, which is a great studio, Apex Legends, come on. Titanfall, amazing, super tight, very, very fast paced, great performance, funded by EA. I just feel like this game just needed to bake a little bit longer. So it's like 95% there. It's getting good reviews. I agree with all of those reviews. Just know that the performance is bummed. I think there was a tweet from Respawn or EA indicating promised patches over the next couple of weeks to shore those performance bugs up. So I'm looking forward to that. So it'll be good. That's what I've been playing a lot of. I love Star Wars Jedi Survivor so far. It's great. With that, I need to take a breath and a sip of my drink. So just give me a second. Whoa, it's really windy at my house. Okay. So, also, what I've been up to this weekend is Friday was also the launch day of the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Emblazoned Switch OLED console, and I was going to impulse buy, I was going to buy a Nintendo Switch OLED back in October. We had this camping trip coming up, and I was like, I was really into Bayonetta. I don't know if I talked about that on the show. And so I was trying to play through Bayonetta 1 and 2 to prepare for 3. And I was going to be playing what I thought would have been extensive amounts of time in handheld mode on the go. And I was like, I really want this OLED model. And I went so far as to actually contemplate pulling off the road to go into the store. So I was taking the off-ramp to go to a Target that was nearby. And I looked online to see if they were in stock, and they were. And I was just going to go get one. Like, sweet, I'm going to get me an OLED. And the reason why was because the battery on my launch Switch from 2017, it's now almost 6 years old. It's like 5.5 years old. The battery life is terrible. And that's pretty much the only complaint I have. I mean, everything else works just fine. You just start to see its age. I don't like the stand. Doesn't really do much. And I knew this new model existed. And it's got the new, better screen. It's got a better kickstand. It has more storage. So I'm running out of storage. The battery's trash. I hate the kickstand. It's not really awesome on the go. And I usually play docked on a TV because I've been using my Switch a lot for Splatoon 3 on regular evenings playing with neighbors. So, I was going to pull the trigger on it. So as I was driving, I had a late thought right when I was about to make the turn. I was like, hold on. This is October now. Hold on. They made an OLED model for Splatoon 3. They made an OLED model for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They're probably going to make a Legend of Zelda emblazoned Nintendo Switch OLED. And they did. And I think I reported on it on the show here when it was unveiled. It was one of the Nintendo Directs that was featuring Tears of the Kingdom. So, of course, I did it. I pre-ordered it. It came out. I have it. On Friday, I drove out to Best Buy to get it. And in-store pickup, baby. You order it online, you go pick it all up. You don't got to worry about retailers. You don't got to worry about shipping. You don't got to worry about it being destroyed or left out in the weather or stolen by strangers. You walk into the building and they pull it off of their shelf because it's awesome. That's how I pre-order stuff most of the time. It's through Best Buy because you can't pre-order. This is a side soapbox. You can't pre-order things on GameStop or through GameStop online. You have to drive to the store to pre-order it in person. And then you have to drive to the store again to pick it up. And that's ridiculous. I'm only driving to the store once. So I can pre-order it online at Best Buy, and I can go to the store and pick it up. I think you can do that on Target, or at Target. And Amazon I don't trust at all for anything, because they will delay your shipment. It won't come out on release day. It will show up in terrible packaging, completely destroyed. I don't trust Amazon whatsoever for any of my pre-orders. Except for the Legendary Edition Tears of the Kingdom, because it was the only one I could get, and they're super hard to find, and that's coming 4 days after release, so I pre-ordered a regular copy at Best Buy so I can play Tears of the Kingdom on release day, with a second copy coming later, and I have plans for that, and at risk of those folks who may be involved in those plans hearing this show, I won't divulge any more of that information. So anyway, I digress from pre-orders. I got the Switch in, and I expected to be kind of impressed and happy, but my mouth was gaping open in amazement at how crisp and clear this OLED screen is. There's no reviewers that can do it justice. There's no YouTube video. You have to go see it in person. And I saw the store models, but the store model is one thing. And they might even have a regular Switch next to it. And you might even be able to set up Mario Kart 8 on both at the same time in the store and see the difference. And there's a clear difference. I mean, you can see it in the store. But something about having it in your hand in your own home, in your own lighting situation, your own environment, where I've been playing my Switch for the year and a half I've been in this house, opening up the Switch model, setting it all up, awesome. One of the first things I did was Link to the Past on Super Nintendo through the Nintendo Switch Online service subscription, and oh my gosh, it was just so vibrant and crisp and perfect. The colors just pop so much more. The blacks are so much deeper, and I jumped back into Metroid Prime Remastered because I kind of set that aside, and I've been playing a lot of that this week, or since Friday, I guess this weekend, and I picked up a whole bunch of stuff. I'm now at the end of the game where you have to collect the 12 Chozo artifacts. So I'll be backtracking around the entire planet, Talos 4, I believe it is. Wow, did I really just do that? Metroid Prime Planet. Which planet is it? Talon. I was close. I was one letter off. Talon 4. So I gotta run around Talon 4 and get the rest of the Metroid Prime upgrades. No upgrades. I've got all the upgrades. I'm done. 100% of all the upgrades. Except for the missile. I don't do the missiles and the energy tanks. I mean, like, the actual mainline game upgrades, like Grapple Beam. I got those. And Metroid Prime on the Switch OLED, there's a couple of really dark areas towards the end when you get to the Phazon Mine section, and it's so dark. You really do have to use the visor to, like, even see. It's awesome. So, the OLED Nintendo Switch, amazing. The battery life, crazy good compared to what I had. So I'm really, really happy with that. Of course, Tears of the Kingdom Special Edition Joy-Cons. They're like gold. The left side is green and the right side is white. The dock is gorgeous. And I could just wax eloquently about that. So I thought I was going to have a little buyer's remorse, like, oh my gosh, I already have a Switch. Why would I buy another one? It's expensive. It kind of was expensive. So was PlayStation VR 2, and so was my Frankenstein. But those three combined met about the amount of money I made in bonuses last year, so I just figured it was my bonus money, whatever. That's not reliable income that we need. So could I have done anything better with that money? Of course. Every purchase you ever make, is there something better you can do with your money? Yes. But I'm happy. I'm a gamer. I love it. It's fantastic. I use my Switch all the time. Now I'll use it in handheld mode more, and I'm extremely excited for Tears of the Kingdom to be bebopping around playing that sucker all the time. It's going to be great, if it's anything like Breath of the Wild was. So if you're on the fence about a OLED model and you think that's in your future and you want to do it and pull the trigger on it, and all you're looking for is someone on the internet to tell you that, yes, it's worth it, it's totally cool, then I guess that's it. Because it was for me. Blew my mind. Mouth gaping open in amazement of how awesome it was. Played Mario Kart 8. Those colors pop, baby. You know what I mean? Toad, he's got those red circles on that white round head of his. We're just crisp and delicious. Because mushrooms are anyway. News. What's been going on in the gaming industry? So this week had a ton of I always feel like I say this, but a ton of small stuff that happened. Nothing earth-shattering, except for a couple of highlights. And I did not spend a lot of time researching these articles prior to this recording. I just heard murmurings and some loose conversations about it, but I haven't dove into it, so we're going to do it live. I'm doing it live right now. And the first story comes by way of gamesindustry.biz, and it's written by Jeffrey Rousseau, staff writer. And the headline is, Sega of America cohort moves to unionize. Staffers across multiple departments seek higher pay, improved benefits, and adequate staffing to end overwork. A unit of 144 staffers at Sega of America has filed for a union election with the National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, as reported by The Verge. A cohort known as the Allied Employees Guild Improving Sega, which is Aegis, AEGIS, consists of employees from departments that include live service, marketing, and product development. The unit is partnered with the Communications Workers of America, CWA. In its statement regarding the unionization effort, the group said in part, quote, "Our workers and our audience deserve games made by people who make a living wage. In our quest to reclaim our collective power, we have built bridges with fellow workers from across our company in an effort to understand our shared issues." The unit also said that nearly a third of Sega staff aren't full-time workers, lack paid time off, and do not have access to bereavement leave. The cohort's goals in forming a union includes higher base pay for all staffers, improved stable benefits for all staffers, clear outlines for career advancement, balanced workload and schedules, adequate staffing to end overwork. Aegis's unionization follows a year in which the games industry saw an increase in organization. QA developers at Raven Software and Blizzard Albany successfully formed unions last year. Last year also saw Australia gain its first video game industry union in Game Workers Australia. Anemone Hug Interactive also became the first Canadian video games union in 2022. This January, ZeniMax United and the CWA announced that roughly 300 QA developers within ZeniMax's U.S. operation favored unionization. ZeniMax is huge. That's the umbrella corporation that owns Bethesda, id Software, etc., that Microsoft acquired. That's them. Anyway, here we are. Unionization in the video game industry continues to move forward, right? We're tired of hearing about crunch. We're tired of hearing about contracted workers being ostracized, sought as less than. We're tired of the volatility of the industry where studios get stood up and funded by publishers. Growth explodes. Some work happens. Suddenly they want to return on that investment and it's not ready, and they gut the studio and people get laid off. And then the people who are left to pick up the pieces are overworked, stuck to meet some deadline, and have horrible working conditions. We've seen so many examples of awful crunch situations, and I'm looking at Rockstar, who have done things to make it better, supposedly. And that's just like the workplace stuff that's bad as far as your job. Then there's all these cultural issues going on. Looking at Blizzard with sexual abuse allegations and sexism running rampant in the industry. It's being like a boys' club kind of mentality going on. There's no doubt there's a need for some sort of regulation, and this is awesome. I'm glad that unionization is happening. I'm glad people are fighting for their rights, for equal pay, for paid time off, for benefits packages, just general things that all American workers need to have. I think that is a right and not a privilege, and I wish that more companies would do that. But capitalism gets in the way because those things all have a higher cost. And so we'll see how this plays out from the consumer side of things. Will games go up in price again to cover these extra costs? Who knows? Will development cycles and budgets get bigger? Who knows? Will monetization strategies change? Probably. But heck, maybe the game itself will change. Maybe there will be like more games, but they'll be cheaper. You know, who knows? There's so many different ways around the cost of this and how you can manipulate that part, because that's where capitalism meets like human rights. And we've done this since the American industrialization era, you know, like back in I'm not a historian, so I don't know when that happened, but you know, way back when, workers' rights has always been an issue up against capitalism. So good to hear it. I'm glad Sega of America is jumping in. I'm glad to see that there's movement happening. There's multiple unions forming over the last couple of years. It's really starting to get some traction, and we're at the cutting edge of it all right now. So it's interesting to see what will happen in the future and see what's going on. So next up, my next review. No, I just read the word because it was on my screen. Next news story is Metacritic pledges stricter Wow. Words, Termite. Metacritic pledges stricter moderation after abusive Horizon Forbidden West DLC review bombing. And this article comes by way of Video Games Chronicle, posted by Andy Robinson. Popular review aggregation site Metacritic has pledged to introduce stricter moderation after Sony's Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores DLC was review bombed by users. So I'm not going to spoil why, but I'm sure you can surmise on your own why people would hate on Horizon Forbidden West. It does involve a relationship that is not heterosexual, so I'll just leave it at that. And of course, everyone toxic, awful, typical, bigoted people on the internet behind a keyboard feel empowered to express their opinion through an unnecessary review bomb. And I'm going to kind of read slowly so I don't actually get the spoilers out. So, let's see. Hey, Sony PlayStation, this is enough. You must see a solution to the issue of the agenda. We are in a world of entertainment, not in a world full of deviant and misguided ideas. Yeah, I read those with a mocking tone because those are some of the comments that are coming through with the review bombing. So that's ridiculous. In a response to the review bombing, Metacritic and Fandom told Eurogamer they were aware of the abusive and disrespectful views of Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores and claimed they were currently evolving their processes and tools to introduce stricter moderation in the coming months. Fandom is a place of belonging for all fans, and we take online trust and safety very seriously across all our sites, including Metacritic. Metacritic is aware of the abusive and disrespectful reviews of Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores, and we have a moderation system in place to track violations of our terms of use. Our team reviews each and every report of abuse, including but not limited to racist, sexist, homophobic, insults to other users, etc., and if violations occur, the reviews are removed. We are currently evolving our process and tools to introduce stricter moderation in the coming months. Guerrilla Games is currently working on an online project set in the Horizon universe alongside an epic solo adventures starring series protagonist Aloy. I'd throw that in there at the end there to get you excited for more content. But yeah, I'm glad that Metacritic has taken a response to this. I'm glad that there is even a threat that if you post a bigoted review on Metacritic that it can get completely removed and scrubbed because there's no place for it. And I think that is a perfect and right stance. You don't get to post a score on a video game based on a personal belief system that is wrong and hateful in its nature. And so scrubbing all that. Let's just get rid of that. I don't think the mainstream critical, like the critics' reviews are in that risk, but I assume that they would also be scrutinized under the same moderation system. But this is like focusing, if you look at Metacritic, you'll see like a critic score and you'll see like a user score. And whenever they're really, really different, there's something going on. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the critical score was really low, but the user score was really high. So player engagement was up. Positivity reactions from players was really high, but critically it was an awful mess, and so they reviewed it low. And then the opposite, of course, is happening with games like Horizon Forbidden West DLC, where the critical score is high because it is a solid AAA, smooth, amazing game with deep gameplay mechanics and an awesome customization and combat system and a fantastic story and character development and voice acting and music, all awesome, top-notch, like 8 to 9, 10s out of 10s. And then the users are just mad because they're bigoted or are posting these reviews. So moderation needs to happen to scrub the user scores of, if it's just a bigoted reason, get rid of it. Like, that's not an actual review. That's just you being toxic on the internet. So we have no place for that. Let's get rid of it. Let's just scrub that out. And then you'll have a more realistic user score, right? That's how it should work. So let's do that. I'm all for it. So I'm glad there's actually headway or a response, at least, because review bombing has been this thing. It's been going on for a while now, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just adding, it is a symptom of internet toxicity. So by fixing the symptom, you're not really getting to the core, but how do you fix the root cause of hate when people are, quote, safe behind a keyboard and have no skin in the game or no repercussions or consequences to their actions of whatever they post, except for to have a review removed. And if they ban your account, you can just create a new email address and get a new account. And like, you can just keep going. So it's impossible to like stamp out, but it's a move in the right direction, I suppose. The next story is Microsoft's Activision Blizzard acquisition blocked by UK regulators. This is kind of the biggest news probably here this week. Microsoft, and this is an article from The Verge written by Tom Warren. Microsoft's $68.7 billion deal to acquire Activision Blizzard has been blocked by the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, after months of analyzing 3 million Microsoft and Activision documents and more than 2,100 emails from the public. The CMA has concluded that the deal could, quote, alter the future of the fast-growing cloud gaming market, leading to reduced innovation and less choice for UK gamers over the years to come. Microsoft says it will appeal the decision, but it's a blow to Microsoft's hopes of acquiring Activision Blizzard and will likely prevent the company closing its giant deal if an appeal is unsuccessful. Microsoft, quote, Microsoft has a strong position in cloud gaming services, and the evidence available to the CMA showed that Microsoft would find it commercially beneficial to make Activision's games exclusive to its own cloud gaming service, says the CMA. The CMA estimates that Microsoft controls around 60 to 70% of global cloud gaming services, and that adding control over Call of Duty, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft would give Microsoft a significant advantage in the cloud gaming market. Microsoft has attempted to address concerns around cloud gaming in the lead up to its decisions. The software giant signed cloud gaming deals with Boosteroid, Ubitus, and NVIDIA to allow Xbox PC games to run on these rival cloud gaming services after striking a similar deal with Nintendo in December. These 10-year deals also include access to Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard games if the deal is approved by regulators. The CMA says it has examined these deals, but they contain, quote, a number of significant shortcomings in cloud gaming services. The CMA says the deals are too limited in scope, with models that meant gamers had to acquire the rights to play games by purchasing them on certain stores or subscribing to certain services. The deals didn't include agreements for Microsoft providing access to these games in rival multi-game subscription services or the ability for rivals to offer versions of games on PC operating systems other than Windows. The CMA also noted that the deals would standardize the terms and conditions on which games are available instead of open competition in the cloud gaming market. We concluded that, without the merger, Activision games would become available on cloud gaming services in the UK in the near future. And the article goes on. There's a whole lot more. It's a pretty long article. But that's the gist of it. So, big block by the CMA over in UK. I don't understand the entire process for how this big acquisition is going to happen, but interesting tidbit here is that they focused a lot on cloud gaming. And if you know, Game Pass has an entire ability to stream from the cloud. So much so that there already is, an app that you can install on certain smart TVs, and all you need is a controller that has Bluetooth communication to your TV, and you can play games on Game Pass. Now you take your phone, and you can put it in a little handle with buttons on it, and you can play games on your phone. Xbox Game Pass games, right? We've seen the demise of Stadia, which promised the same thing. Amazon still has Luma going, which is limping along. And PlayStation has its own, now it's part of the PlayStation Plus, but it was PlayStation Now, PS Now cloud gaming. Microsoft is already by far ahead of the game here. The quality is better, it works better, technology is better, there's a better selection, a bigger selection, and I didn't really realize the deals that were going on that this article calls out, specifically with the 10-year deals of Call of Duty, but gaming deals with Boosteroid, Ubitus, and NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a whole cloud gaming initiative thing you can subscribe for, where there's like tiered subscription models, and the higher amount of money you pay, the better video card you can get access to, and therefore like higher qualities of ray tracing and some of the DLSS, all those things, AI, up-resing your stream. I assume this stuff has bandwidth requirements, but I'm not really sure. Didn't really realize Microsoft was in on that. Specifically about the operating systems being called out here about the CMA is concerned that it's only Windows. Like there's no offer of versions of games for other PC operating systems. So what does that mean for things like Steam Deck? Suddenly a rival, right? Or does Game Pass get offered to Valve and they put it on Steam Deck? And now you have even more, right? So interesting take here about just focusing specifically on the cloud gaming versus like the conversation had been all about the IP originally and things like Call of Duty and all of Blizzard's offerings, Overwatch, being locked into a Microsoft ecosystem and only available to play on Xbox. That was like the big concern right up front, but no one had mentioned or really talked about this idea of cloud gaming and what it would mean on the software side if this deal and this merger go through. Because right now, like what the CMA has quoted here saying is that Activision would be better off doing that on their own. Like they could set up their own cloud service and offer Call of Duty and Overwatch and World of Warcraft on their own, and that would be a more competitive market because you would stand up a huge IP available on cloud gaming services that would rival Microsoft, supposedly would inspire innovation or some sort of consumer-friendly models as they compete with each other about which one's time and attention's dollars they're going to get, with whatever, that's what this whole thing is supposed to be about, is like fair market, everyone's got a shot, and it's interesting. Very, very interesting indeed about cloud gaming being the center of this. We'll see what happens. This seems like the biggest block yet. I think this is the biggest hurdle they being Microsoft, has had in this entire process. The CMA had issues with this, I think, last year, and there was a whole other list of citations, and of course, reports from Sony and all these kind of internal dialogues. We learned a lot about how Sony does its business with cross-platform and those types of things in the past. So if you care at all about that and you want to go look that stuff up, go for it. And then come to my Discord channel and talk about it, because it's always fun to discuss these things. I think I need another breath. I'm talking too fast. We're almost 40 minutes in, and we're still getting through some news. So I guess it's been busier than I thought. This one should be a pretty quick one. From Eurogamer, written by Wesley Yin-Poole. Nintendo confirmed for Gamescom. Nintendo will attend Gamescom this year. Event organizers have announced it'll be the first time Nintendo has shown up to the German mega show since 2019. Nintendo's appearance at Gamescom suggests it will have something meaningful to show, but what? Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Pikmin 4 will both have been released by the time Gamescom opens in late August. Could Nintendo have something hardware-related to unveil to the world? With the all-conquering Nintendo Switch in its 6th year of its life, it certainly feels about time the Japanese company at least talked about what's next. While the Switch has sold an astonishing 120 million units, passing the Game Boy and the PlayStation 4 to become the third best-selling console of all time, the Nintendo Switch has hit its limits. And do we need a next-gen successor? It's a question the fine folk at Digital Foundry sought to answer in an episode of TF Direct. So you can go check that out if you would like. But now Termite's going to talk about his little spin on this. So, famously, Nintendo backed out of E3 many, many years ago and opted to do these Nintendo Directs. And then they would show up at E3 with a big booth, and they would do like Nintendo Treehouse, where they would have live demos for the media and for the public to be able to preview games and have like a discussion with staff members and have like a curated experience with what's to come at Nintendo. If you remember, a few weeks ago, I reported that Tears of the Kingdom seemed to be the big last hurrah for Nintendo Switch, as there is nothing big on the horizon after that. In this article here, Eurogamer cites Pikmin 4 as well. Both of those will have been out. So what is next for software? Is this the chance to do it? The question that I have is that Gamescom is in August. It's August 23rd through the 27th. And usually there's like Summer Game Fest, or there's an E3, or there's a June Nintendo Direct that would have like the second half of the year. The only other game that's out there that we don't know anything about is Metroid Prime 4. So that if that is a Nintendo Switch title, then here is where Eurogamer is maybe not complete in their analysis of what's going on here. There could be more games coming to the Switch as big as Metroid Prime 4. Is there a sequel to like Metroid Dread? Or is there another Zelda remake ports coming? There's room for other Nintendo IP. I mean, there's another Donkey Kong, another Star Fox, like these things. We had Tropical Freeze ported from the Wii U. That's a Donkey Kong Country game, but no actual Donkey Kong Country game or Donkey Kong game on the Switch. And then, of course, Star Fox has been absent since the Wii U as well. Are there more ports coming from the Wii U? Is there a new Paper Mario? After Origami King, what's next for Yoshi? What's next for Kirby? Kirby just got a huge game, so maybe what's next for Yoshi? There's other things out there. Gamescom's situation in August could very well just be software. Here's what's coming, like Metroid Prime 4, along with it the rest of this year and early of 2024. There have been quotes from Nintendo. Nintendo is very buttoned up. It's all PR. We have no insight into their inner workings. There's very little murmurs. They have leaks, but there's one quality leaker that I don't think does this anymore. And so it's really, really difficult to get any actual inside knowledge other than PR beats. And Nintendo, whatever PR beat was Switch is doing great. We're making a ton of money. Why would we stop that now? Why would we stifle that? There's no reason to move on to new hardware. And then they quoted a whole bunch of sales and stuff. But Gamescom mentioned that sales are down 21% year over year on Switch hardware after hitting the 120 million milestone. So it is declining. People are not buying new Switches, probably because the market who wants one has one, right? Some people have more than one. I have 3 in my household now because my son has a Switch Lite. So that's the kind of console it is. That's what Nintendo goes for. So what will we see at this Gamescom? Whatever software is next for sure. But the real question, the meat that everyone's talking about is there going to be a new Switch shown off? The next hardware. I think it's teased here. I really do. I think it's going to be the teasiest of tease, just like we're working on something new, boom, here's a code name, or like, boom, here's a concept. It's got to have backwards compatibility. I mean, you don't put out this much content to not allow your stuff to move forward. I know they did a full hard stop, after the Wii U, but the Wii was backwards compatible with GameCube. The Wii U was backwards compatible with the Wii. So they usually go back one. Like the Nintendo DS was backwards compatible with the Game Boy Advance. The 3DS was backwards compatible with the DS. They always reach back like one generation. So I imagine with the Switch being a full new thing, the Nintendo Switch online service allowing backwards compatibility across like old hardware, I could foresee like whatever hardware is coming to be dropped. Like we're working on something and maybe a window of time in 2024 where we'll see more. Like expect an official unveiling of Nintendo's hardware for like spring of 2024, and then like a fall 2024 showcase, and then like maybe a spring early, like because the Nintendo Switch came out in March of 2017, so maybe like 2025. You get like a full 8-year cycle. I think that math is right. 2017 plus 3 is 2 at 2020. Yeah, 3 and 5 is 8. Yeah, so you get an 8-year cycle, which is what like the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 did. So it's not unprecedented. That's my prediction. I feel like here's just a teaser. Again, spring of 2024, big unveiling. Here you go. It's coming out 1 year. And then they have a full like year marketing. And as far as what software is coming out in the next 2 years from now, because it's now spring of 2023, so we have 2 full years of games coming on the Switch. So boom, here's your Metroid Prime 4. Boom, here's all the rest of the stuff that's going on. Maybe we get a new Mario Kart. Maybe we get a new Mario. Shigeru Miyamoto's been working on the movie, and it's been working on the theme parks. So like, here's time for a game to kind of tie all that together in a bow. Is my prediction here. So I would get excited about Gamescom. Nintendo's finally coming back out into the in-person sphere more than just doing the directs. And I think Nintendo's really hitting a stride. I mean, like, the Switch is selling gangbusters, hit after hit after hit, Pokemon Scarlet aside. Tears of the Kingdom is going to be amazing. I'm doing a lot of great stuff. All the Nintendo Switch online backwards compatibility, like virtual console stuff, is awesome. Nintendo's just kicking butt right now. They're selling Nintendo Switches like crazy. So, yeah, a lot of good things coming. I'm excited about this. So let me know what you think too. And the last is actually a really short story. But on IGN, PlayStation VR 2 will soon be available at local retailers, Sony says, by Christina Alexander over at IGN. Sony's revealed that the PlayStation VR 2 will soon be heading to a retailer near you. The company made the announcement on Twitter today, but it hasn't given the exact date as to when a major brick-and-mortar stores will have the headsets in stock. Currently, you can still order a PSVR 2 from PlayStation Direct, where it was exclusively sold in the 2 months since it's been released. If you're desperate to know when you'll see it in stores, Shop2 says it will show up in UK stores on May 12th. Whether the headset will be stocked up in retailers the same day in the US is unknown, but you may want to check the stores in your area for availability. This is hilarious, because I didn't know this when I reported that Sony apparently thought the PlayStation VR 2 was a flop, or it was like not doing as much sales monetarily, like either by the dollar or by the unit as they had hoped. And the gaming industry all jumped on that. They were like, oh my gosh, the PSVR 2 is a flop. What are we doing? And internal, like Sony, they know what they're doing. They weren't even available with the retailers. You couldn't even see it on the shelves. It wasn't on Amazon. It was only available through one retailer, PlayStation Direct, which is where I buy some things, and it's a great retailer. But hilarious, right? This is where it opens up. This is where sales can explode a little bit, comparatively, right? People who just like shopping, impulsive buy things. I know it's like a $550 unit, so impulse buys are probably not going to happen a whole lot, but still, like, the fact that it will become readily available at Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Amazon, what have you, now will only increase the exposure of the hardware to the PlayStation 5 users. PlayStation 5 is selling like gangbusters. It's doing really, really well, and Sony expects to sell more this year than they've had yet. And I think they just sold 19 million in the last quarter. So that was an off-the-cuff headline I remembered. I didn't really look that up. So if I'm wrong, please correct me. But so PlayStation 5 is like taking off. It's outpacing PlayStation 4, and it's like how many years has it's been on market versus how many units sold. So all this like stands to reason that PlayStation VR 2 is going places, it's doing well, it will be fine. So if you have a PlayStation VR 2 or you're thinking about buying one, I bought one. I think it's going to be good. It will be supported. It will have as many years ahead of the PlayStation 5 life cycle to be supported, many more years ahead of it than the first PlayStation VR when it had come out in the life cycle of the PlayStation 4 Pro, and how like close to the end of that life cycle the PlayStation VR headset came out. Comparatively, the PSVR 2 it came out very early in the PlayStation 5's life cycle. In fact, we're just now starting to see this year the first current gen only game offerings. We're getting away from the cross-gen situation. So I'm excited about the future of PSVR 2. I'm excited about the state of play. There's a big one coming in May, so we'll check that out. I'll report on it here, of course. Be very excited to watch live. Not with y'all. I will watch it live on my own and then report back. I'm not doing a live stream. Well, maybe. I don't know. You'll have to find out by staying tied to my socials. Depends on when it is and what time of day. And I got kids, and like sometimes I can't even watch these things live. I have to like nitpick and see and pause and jump out and come back and rewatch, and it's a whole thing. But anyway, that's the end of my news for the week, and we're at 46 minutes. So I'll just do a quick retro discussion. I'm still PlayStation 3 obsessed. I still have my Frankenstein PS3 here, which I've been talking about every single week since I got it, and I'm continuing to chug through Grand Theft Auto 4. I'm now farther than I've ever been in the game. I'm just doing story mission after story mission after story mission, and what a perfect window into culture in 2006. You know, Grand Theft Auto, the Rockstar Games, the writers are amazing at the satire of making fun of culture. And with the age that I was in 2006, I was 20 years old. I remember that like very, very well. And I remember the post 9/11 like fear of terrorism everywhere, the Bush administration and its craziness that was, weapons of mass destruction, the Iraqi war, like all of the war on terror, all of these things. Like, go back and watch like old Dave Chappelle episodes, and you'll get like a good commentary on like systemic racism in America. Of course, the liberal conservative like talking points that come out in Grand Theft Auto 4's radio shows are all satirical and hilarious. But I just feel like what a good time capsule that was. And like, it's not real, you know, it's all satire, it's all fiction. But Liberty City, of course, is a play on New York City, and so like it has its own commentary on that city itself. It's just awesome. And it really does feel like I remember it. And that may or may not be a good thing, because how satirical and fake that it is. But it does a good job of like representing that time. And I think it's a good, I keep using the word time capsule because if you were to be a historian or like someone coming like my kid's age and want to experience like, what did my dad live through? Like, how awesome would it be to fire up some like, you know, LA Noire for the 1940s, you know, maybe. I don't know how well they did their research, but in 2006 when that game, or 2007 when it dropped, it was made around that time. So everything was from primary sources. It wasn't a historical piece. Video games didn't exist in the 40s or the 50s, so you couldn't like get the same level of primary sources and experience in the writers. And that it only stands to reason that gamers at the time grew up to make Grand Theft Auto 6, and so we'll get that in the next Grand Theft Auto, whatever that looks like. You know, the commentary will get even better, and the writing will get even better, and it'll be like even more witty and like more, I don't know. Like, I'm excited about the future of Grand Theft Auto, but what I didn't expect is how playable Grand Theft Auto 4 is. It is a perfect time capsule in gaming in 2006 and 7. So mechanics that are awful now, quality of life that doesn't exist, like the quality of life we have today that doesn't exist in 2007 is very, very, very apparent when you play these games because they're extremely mechanically awful. Jumping and platforming and aiming and shooting and cycling weapons and driving, so many different genres like jumbled into one. And then how graphics and animation and facial structures and voice acting and all that stuff put together with the music. Some of the pacing of how the game is told and some of the fluff, like all of those things. It's so good. It's such a good 2007 Like, even the color palette, when Penguin and I were talking about gaming, like, the video game industry went through its angst teenage years in, like, that generation, the early PS3, Xbox 360 generation, when we had, like, Gears of War and Grand Theft Auto 4, Halo 3, like, the muted color palette. It's all, like, dark and gringy, gritty, and there's every single game is just, like, ramped up testosterone, like, brrr. And we thought, like, the Super Nintendo and Genesis era were bad. They were really bad in the marketing and the PR side with the magazine ads and the commercials and how awful that was marketed to clearly white, straight teenage boys. But in the video game industry, like, the game content itself was going through its own teenage angst, muted colors, angry, violent, spreading their wings, learning adolescence of what games could do and be as a cultural storytelling medium and how they could impact the world and, like, the stories you could tell and some of the insight you can get. I think Grand Theft Auto 4 just bumps or just rolls all of what I just said into one shiny little bow. So if you get a chance to play Grand Theft Auto 4, whether it's on the 360, on the PS3, on your PC, however you want to get it, definitely struggle through the bad game mechanics, because at the time, that game was amazing. And now, of course, that part aged. But what doesn't age is the great story and the awesome storytelling and the satirical insight into culture and a post 9/11 war on terror culture in a city, a conservative city, making fun of liberals and their like left agenda and their left leaning crazy progressiveness that everyone's so scared of. It's hilarious. It's great. I love it. I highly recommend Grand Theft Auto 4. I'm having a blast. Way more fun than I thought it would be. Of course, it's like the juvenile humor is all over the place, and I love that too, because Blink-182 is back, and I'm going to go see them in a couple of months. So, like, I'm, like, hot and heavy on the stupid, juvenile, dumb humor, and it's awesome. So that's Termite's Buzz, number 16. Thanks for hanging out. It's been almost an hour. Thank you for your listening. Thank you for your time. And I hope to see you guys and gals and those of you who will be back with me next week. I don't know what's coming down the pipe, but I'm sure it'll be fun. I will hope to have a little bit more insight about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Let me know in the comments. There is no comments, but, well, I guess you could go to our Libsyn website, or 80bitpodsmash.com, which is a Libsyn website. Like, it's built by Libsyn, and you can leave comments there, but I don't know if I get notified for those. The best way you could give me your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, and ideas is through our social media outlets. And all of that is on 80bitpodsmash.com's website. There's a link tree, and you'll get Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, and our Discord server. And you can talk to me, Termite, about all this stuff and more. So go check us out, tell me what you think, and you can shape the show. And with that, I'll see you next week.